everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to do a video I started to do like 2 weeks ago, but then we had a forest fire come through and I had to stop what I was doing, unload everything, and haul this off to help with the fire break. But I want to talk about the Takeuchi skid steer now, or track loader is actually the correct term for it, because I get a lot of people asking me questions, you know, starting up a business, what kind of equipment to start off with. And you know, you got to go with something that's going to be universal, that can work on not a dedicated machine. You want something that's going to be the best bang for your buck. And now a skid steer paired with an excavator is hands down the best outfit to start off with. But if you're going to have one item, the skid steer hits on so many different angles. The attachments that you can get for this are limitless. So what I got it set up for right now, we primarily do land clearing, fire prevention around homes and stuff. So it has an FAE masticator head on the front. That head weighs about 3,000 pounds. I want to point this out right now because a lot of people like to load skid steers backwards because they think you got more weight, you know, with the rear machine up here. Well, maybe if you have a bucket on there, but that head right there weighs 3,000 pounds. So that's why I load it forward. Plus it's easier that way. And you saw me load up another attachment on the back. We got a stump grinder for it. And when we were looking for a skid steer, it had to meet a couple areas. It needed to be able to mulch. It needed to have rubber tracks, because we already actually have a single grouser steel track Rayco skid steer or track loader. And that thing is just, it's a nice little machine, but you can't drive it down a blacktop driveway. And this is where this thing is really key, is because I can drop this thing off out in the middle of the street, track it across the blacktop, up the person's blacktop driveway, and to the job site, and not hurt the ground. So that was another angle that we, you know, had to have, and that's obvious. Most of them come with this anyway, so that shouldn't be a concern to too many people. But being that we already had a track skid steer, I wanted to be able to utilize some of the attachments that we had already had for the old one, because bought a new masticator head for this one, had a bunch of attachments that just sat for years because that other machine just was not ideal for going onto, you know, anybody's property unless it was, you know, a perfect situation. So the stump grinder, got that, been using that a bunch. Tree shear, cut down 100 trees an hour with this thing. I don't know, that's a little bit exaggerated, but several trees a minute if you're in the right situation. And this thing rocks and rolls with it. So right there, we got two pieces of equipment out of one. There's three actually, it's a masticator. Then you can still do your dirt work stuff. You get your buckets. We got a, you know, the standard bucket that came with the machine. Another thing that everybody's got nowadays is the skid steer quick disconnect couplers on everything now. The Kubota's got it, the machine's got it. That one, you just hit a switch inside of it, hydraulically opens. So I can move trailers around with it. There's all my tie downs. I was wondering where they went. There we go, hiding in a bucket. And this one is sweet right here for moving brush. This was the brush grapple, brush rake, whatever you want to call it, for the Rayco. This thing, look how thick this is. That's like 1.25 inches right there. That thing is beefy, and it fits that machine perfectly. You can, you know, push forward. You can close the grapple. The tongs go in there, out the bottom. You can back drag. It leaves an awesome finish. There's been a couple projects I've done around the house that I utilized 3 or more of the attachments all in one run. What else we got? There's a couple other things. We got a 6-way blade. If you ever have a chance to buy one of these, they are a cool idea, but the skid steer just doesn't have enough in the ass to really push it around. But it's a good idea for doing, if you're gonna have to build a road and this is what you got, it'll do the job. But if you're trying to be, you know, extreme production with it, could use a little bit more assistance. But we talk about the Takeuchi. We went with the TL12R2. The R means it's got the fixed lift. I don't know, radial lift or something like that. But they have the V2, which is the vertical lift, and it has that scissor action. Why we didn't go with that? Because a lot of people think that's the way to go. We didn't go with that because I didn't like the idea of all that open area up there. So this contains all of it. It still gets stuff in there. It's a universal machine. It's not a dedicated mulcher, so you will get dust, sticks and stuff in there. You got to be careful with skid steers if you're running a masticator head. Takeuchi's been good. They don't catch fire nearly as much as other brands, but you got to watch out for stuff like that. For doing dirt work and stuff like that, this thing's perfectly fine. But that's why we went with that, because it was a less open area. Plus, it takes more hydraulic power to run the vertical lift, thus taking more power from your head. Universal machine, they are good at everything, but they are not great, you know, necessarily at just one thing. Moving dirt, this thing's freaking awesome. I'll say that much. It's an awesome dirt mover. But for running a mulcher head, it's everything it's got. Running a mulcher head, it does it fine. But you're, you know, looking for any angle that you can get, and having the V2 versus the R2. The R2 is a better option for running a masticator head on it, and that's honestly all the, about 80% of the time it's got the head on there. And for cooling power, the machine does not run hot. The hydraulics do not run hot. We don't even have a secondary cooler on this machine. The dealer said, try it at first, see if it gets warm. If it gets warm, we'll get a cooler, we're gonna put it on there. But it didn't get warm. It runs great. It's got a gauge on the dash, always shows green. I was like, oh, well, let's go back here with the heat gun. Checked it with the heat gun. 140, 150 on the hydraulics on a 100-degree day. On the hot side, and the cool side coming out is you know, 20 degrees less or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Sorry, I don't have my memories kaput. Anyway, done great. Has not overheated at all, which is funny for all the dedicated masticators we have. The one that's not dedicated stays the coolest. So good job, Takeuchi, with the high flow and all that. Only thing that we really had to change on this was we outfitted it with a bumper on the back from Precision Armor. Check them out on Facebook. Make a good solid bumper. It's 3/8 box tube here. This thing ain't going nowhere. You bend this, you're going to get hurt inside the cab. Put that on the back because you get into a weird situation, bobbing and weaving between the trees, doing some lane clearing. You don't want to damage the hood any more than, you know. That's the one weak link in the whole shell of this thing, is the hood's kind of exposed. But you do have a nice bumper down here to chain to. Other than that, thing's been outstanding. That is probably the single most asked question I get, is regarding the Takeuchi TL12 and how it performs, what they should get for it, this and that. There's a couple things that we did up here with the quick couplers. It's got Stuckey screw together quick couplers for the high flow stuff. Those by far are worth the money over anything else. The flat place couplers, they always leak. If they don't leak when they first put on, that's awesome. But just they can't take the beating of mulcher head reoccurring up and down on high pressure. So he put those Stuckies on there, had them on there for the whole life of the machine. Before, that's when I put the head on it, had those on there, and it's been doing awesome. Zero leaks out of that. But for the best bang for your buck, it's nice to have the exact right machine for every job. And this one, it's weird how well it does at everything. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke because, you know, I'm happy with the dealer or whatnot. I aim to buy stuff that is going to be long-term beneficial for my dad and I as a company, is just making life easier for us. And if anybody's wondering why that's on the back and I can't get it off, excavators on the job. But this machine, I did not want to buy something that was going to be junk. We bought this thing brand new, happier than hell with it since day one. You know, I don't want to come on here. If you think I'm blowing smoke, you're wrong. You know, I want to come on here and say that we've had great experience with the machine. I'd highly recommend it. If I have something to say about a company's product, I'll make a video on it now. I ain't afraid to do that. You guys have seen a couple basher videos. I'm not proud to do those, but at what point, you know, some people, they need to recognize that their stuff's not very good and they're selling people garbage. And Takeuchi definitely is not doing that. They are doing an outstanding job. The next excavator we get, I really wish we could stay with Kubota. This ain't it. There's a logo right there. Kubota bleed orange. Always loved the Kubota. This will be the 4th Kubota that we had. But got 2 excavators, 2 wheel tractors, and a Kubota diesel generator. But when it comes to the next excavator, it is going to be white and red. It's not going to be orange. And I'm pretty happy to say that, because dealer support, biggest thing ever. Dealer support is where it starts from. Then having an awesome machine is, oddly, that's secondary. But I just wanted to give a quick update on how the TL12 is doing. Running absolutely great. We did have one leak with the sight glass for the hydraulic tank. We put some new gaskets on there and it's all good to go. But other than that, she's just been an absolute champ. It's met every level that I've wanted it to. to use all those old attachments that we never used anymore. Easy access to jobs. You have no idea the effort that we used to go through to get that old lamb track into jobs. Sure, we still got to do it with the Prime Tech, but we don't do it unless we absolutely need the bigger machine on a job. But having a rubber tracked skid steer like this that I can ditch anywhere and just drive it up the blacktop driveway. Universal machine, guys. This is the Swiss Army knife of everything. That and a mini excavator, these two paired together. This thing with like the 080, you can knock out a lot of jobs. Sure, there's always something bigger and better, but for the best bang for your buck, you can go a long ways with this. If you guys only knew how many takes it takes me to do an outro sometimes. Gosh dang, I've been at it for 20 minutes. But this is older footage. I remembered I had filmed this segment and I wanted to make this edit for you guys. It's pouring down rain right now, so what better time to bring up some old footage. But the Takeuchi TL12 track skid steer, whatever you want to call it, been completely awesome. Now I want to point out some key things when you're buying a new machine. You're going to do the research, figure out what you're going to, ideally buy, whatever platform it is. Like you see all the versatility we've done with the skid steer. I don't want to say that we're just a skid steer company, because some people like to make fun of people because they got smaller tractors. We got bigger tractors too, but whatever's going to make you some money. How can you make fun of somebody for having, a machine that makes them money? It's just set you aside. But this thing has been great. If you're going to buy a machine, you got pretty much 3 options when it comes to purchasing stuff. First one, you're going to buy a cheap piece of crap because maybe that's what you want, or maybe that's all the pocketbook can afford. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It can still make you money. But plan on a lot of downtime for repairs and maintenance on the cheap piece of crap, because you don't spend the money now, you're going to have to spend it later on repairs, kind of a thing. So we've done that before. You spend a little bit of money, get your foot in the door, then you're just working on it, and if you got downtime, you're not making money. Option number 2 is by far the best one that everybody tries to strive for when they're buying anything. That is low hours, one owner, low mileage, great shape machine for a great price. We got lucky with our 080, the 20,000 pound Kubota excavator I run. And that thing was one owner, 500 hours, spent most of its life sitting next to a barn. The only thing that was wrong with it is it got sun faded. But we got that thing for half price, and I've had it 2,000 plus hours that I've ran it. It's been perfect. That's what makes me sad, because our Kubota dealer is junk locally, so I don't really care to buy a brand new Kubota off them. But I don't have any problem buying another Takeuchi, I'll tell you that much. And that is option number 3. You buy something brand new. And when it comes to skid steer, for some reason these things really hold their value. And when we were weighing the options of buying a used one or buying the brand new one, if you bought one that had a couple hundred hours on it, you only saved a couple grand, like 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 grand. It didn't really, it wasn't enough chunk off of it to justify buying the used one. Now, if you bought one that had like 1,500, 2,000 hours, you might save like 25, 30% at best. So we figured, you know what, let's just stop playing around, just get the brand new one and be out the door and on the way. And now, I think it's only got like 350 hours on it in the whole year we've ran it, because we have 20 other machines. So it's not the main squeeze, but it's been perfect. Except for one leak in the, I think I said in the video, the sight glass for the hydraulic oil tank. Other than that, beautiful. Love the machine. Wish I would have bought it sooner, guarantee it, because we had worked on the old, lamb track, switching heads back and forth, and it's just so brutal. But like you seen in this video, how many different attachments I've taken on multiple different jobs, and the little freaking Takeuchi TL12 skid steer, it killed it. By the way, if you guys have never seen a TL12 in person, it's actually kind of a big skid steer. I don't think anybody realizes how big of a bird that thing is for a skid steer. Well, I think I'm going to end it here. I don't have anything else to say other than weigh your options. Buy something that's going to fit your budget. It's always nicer to have something newer. Old school stuff, there is definitely some perks, but I mean, there's two ways of defining age. It could be a year old and completely worn out. I'm going to say that's an old piece of crap, even though it's only a year old. But you could buy something that's 10, 15 years old, that's got low hours. I'm just going to look at it and be like, dang, that thing's pretty much brand new. I've judged something's age on how like worn out it is. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. It's finally raining here in California. Just kidding, it's California. I love this place. Some of the people that run it kind of suck. We'll see you guys. Thanks for watching.